Hello and welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. I'm your host Mehmet, and in each episode, I'm exploring the latest trends, insights, and strategies in topics like cybersecurity, digital transformation, emerging technologies, startups, and entrepreneurships. From thought leaders and innovators to entrepreneurs and founders, we will hear from experts across a wide range of industries who are driving change and making an impact in the world of tech and business. Thank you for tuning in today, and let's get started. Today, I have with me Jakub, who's joining me from Poland. Jakub is the CEO of Orbify, which is I will let you, Jakub, explain that to the audience because you will do it the best way. Thank you for being on the show today, and please, can you introduce yourself and your company?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Mehmet, for having me here. It's a big pleasure. Hello, everyone. My name is Jakub Dziwisz, and I'm the CEO of Orbify. Our company is building a platform that transforms geospatial data and satellite imagery into fully functional web applications, interactive dashboards, and reliable APIs. If you are wondering why, right? What's interesting in it? Recently, we started focusing a lot on the nature-based solutions and forest vertical, especially because this is a super important area, important for the entire planet. If you think about all the people over the world, right, that are taking care of the forests, there are two main reasons why they do this. Some of them, they look after forests, they plant forests just for present, for now, right? To have timber that they can use to heat their homes, to have timber that can be used to build furniture or other houses, or to produce palm oil and other types of food. So this is one group. The other group is people planting, taking care of forests for the future's generations, to make sure that our planet stays as beautiful, as green as it is right now. And this is no less important goal. Both these types of people need to understand what is the conditions of the reserves, plantations, and this is where Earth observation comes into place. By using satellites, and I don't know if you know, but there is over 1,000 satellites orbiting the Earth, collecting terabytes of data every minute. By using data coming from these satellites, we can provide people who want to plant, grow healthy forest with actual up-to-date information about factors like forest crown cover. So what percentage of the area is covered with crowns, and is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Is there some unwanted deforestation taking place? Let's imagine that, Mehmet, you are working for a forest department in Lebanon, right? We are talking to smart people from Lebanon that are reforesting their country, and they need to understand, okay, is there some illegal logging taking place? Is our plantation growing healthy? The other question you may be asking to yourself is, what is the health of my forest? Is there some pest attacking the trees? Maybe there is drought that is making the trees in certain area of our, let's say, 500 hectares of plantation, making the trees actually dying. Should we do something about it? Should we maybe send our operators on the ground to take care of this? And then the other question you may be asking yourself is, what is the above ground biomass, the amount of organic carbon that is stored, right? Organic carbon is something that is making the headlines now and then, because we want to have less CO2, less methane in the atmosphere, and more actually sequestered down in the plant, so that we slow down the greenhouse effect. And this is another thing that you want to be measuring. All of those things are easily doable with satellites, and the easiest way of actually measuring these parameters of your forest plantation is on Orbify. So this is what we are doing, and I'm glad to be talking to you today, because just like we just discussed before the show, for the CTO perspective, from the technical perspective, this is super interesting area where there are not that many tools that makes CTOs, product people, lives easier.
Yeah, James, thank you very much. It was very like detailed explanation. One thing I'm wondering, so you take the data that comes from the satellite and you present it in a useful format to businesses. Is that right? I get that
That's
correctly?
correct. I
Yeah.
would even say that it's not only about presenting, but transforming, processing the data, because data alone, satellite data is like here, right? It's a beautiful image you can hang on the wall, and it looks good in your saloon, living room. But if you want to get to insights, then you will have to process multispectral information and, for example, come up with insights about amount of chlorophylls that is contained in the leaves of the trees.
Okay, and do you, I believe that you have to target with these satellites operators to take the data and then yourself to do the representation and whatever the nice work, right? Am I correct?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, that's great. You talked a lot about, the forest protections, which is, I think it's something very noble, and I believe everyone should be caring about the environment. But what are other like use cases that people can benefit from the data that you present to them?
Of course. Among our customers, we have really interesting company from Denmark that is monitoring peatlands. Peat storages, which is another form of carbon that is sequestered in the ground. But we can expand further. It's not only about ground. It can be about maritime monitoring. And for example, another super interesting Croatian company that we are working with is using Orbify to monitor fuel spills. So let's say that there is a ship that has some sort of problems with the engine, and then fuel spills into the ocean. Or there is a tanker, right, that spills the oil that they are
Yeah.
transporting into the ocean, and this can lead to huge damage that is made to all the ocean wildlife. If you detect this oil spills quickly, you can react. You can send some reaction, some troops to take care of the oil and save animals, save the beaches. If you react fast, because if you are unable to detect it quickly, then wind waves will make the oil go over all the ocean, and it won't be easy to prevent the damage that it's making, right? So they're working on this, but we can go even beyond nature protection. Satellites are not only about wildlife protection. Another use case we are working on is for some with some Polish company. Actually, we've been working on vessel detection. And vessel detection, on the one hand, yes, it can be about illegal fishing, because 1/3 of the fish we are eating is caught illegally. I'm not sure if you knew, but it can be about many other things. It can be about well, some wartime activities, some naval forces trying to sneak in, right? So vessel identification is a super interesting thing on its own. But then we can think about renewable energy production, and we have a pleasure of working with a super interesting Norwegian company who has very advanced algorithms that are identifying, classifying solar panels, photovoltaics installations, and based on their learnings, they are able to say, okay, this photovoltaics farm is able to produce that much energy, and actually the weather over the next 24 hours will be this, so we are predicting that they will give into the grid that much energy. And this is interesting for the photovoltaics company, but also for managers of the entire power grid in a certain area. And then we can move forward. It's not only about photovoltaics, it's not only about renewable energy, it's about agriculture, and we are working with some smart people who are estimating the amount of organic carbon in the soil. soil and soil moisture to tell farmers, okay, in this patch of land, your corn will grow really nicely because there is enough carbon, it is moist, wet enough to make the corn grow well. And actually down there, it's much better if you plant, let's say, grapes, because the soil is very mineral, very dry, so it's no use for typical crops, but actually grapes will grow really well in this, right? So they are using Orbify, they're using satellite imagery to estimate, to assess what type of soil works best. And then we can talk about not only nature, but we can talk about human settlements, urban settlements, and predicting how the urban sprawl affects the surrounding terrain, also assessing air quality. A couple of months ago, I spoke to one of the people from Copenhagen municipalities, capital of Denmark, rich city, and 10%, they realized that 10% of people, 10% of inhabitants of beautiful, rich Copenhagen are dying due to air diseases, due to diseases caused by poor air quality. This is surprising, right? Because I would be like, it's a coastal city, there is a lot of wind, there is not so much factories, but 10%. And they decided to do something. They decided to revitalize the city. So they analyzed patterns of air quality over districts of Copenhagen. And based on this, they decided, okay, in clean areas, we will build more parks, we will build more places where children can play outside. And in those more polluted areas, well, of course, we will not demolish the parks, but we will put some domes under those domes people will be able to have meetups, and they will not have to breathe this unhealthy air. We'll put domes over the bus stops in those more polluted areas of the cities. So this is the information that's actually used in Copenhagen to decide how the city develops, how the city revitalizes. And well, this is just a couple of use cases. I could go on and on, but I'm not sure if we have that many hours.
Yeah. Actually, it's very fascinating because to see, usually people think that satellites are only for communication. Satellites are, like the traditional
espionage, military,
the traditional use cases. But it's very nice to see. I'm a big believer in the power of data, right? And because you build the data sets and you prepare the models for people, so it's nice use cases, I would say. The question again, it came just to my mind now. I don't want to dig too much technical, but because usually when we talk about satellite images and all this, I believe the data is not always real time, right? So it's because you're gonna build something historical. Am I correct?
There are multiple uses, right? So if we are talking about air quality over Copenhagen, actually it's super important for us to be able to look into the past and see the patterns over the years, actually. So maybe we're looking like 3 years into the past to see, okay, in January it is this, in February this is this, in March it's this, usual, right? So we need a long span of data. But then when we are talking about illegal fishing, and you want to be able, okay, as a Coast Guard, I want to decide which area of the bay we should be patrolling more often. Here, actually, you will want to have as much real-time data as possible. And with all these new space constellations, this near real-time is becoming closer to real-time. So you are right that if we're talking about Landsat program Sentinel, here we've got usually at least 1 day of delay. But then when we are talking about some new space constellations, it's sometimes down to hours. And I know that some of them are working to bring it down to even minutes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I was looking at the way, obviously you offer this service as a software as a service, right? As a SaaS offering.
Of course.
And the first time when I was looking to the way, so you price it based on the square meter, right? This is the way that you do it. Okay. Because when we think about SaaS, we think about number of users, we think about a couple of other things, but it's nice to see also how this satellite imagery, technology was also brought to a SaaS model. So congratulations on this, Jakub.
Thank you.
One more thing, actually, out of curiosity, I wanted to ask you, like, I'm sure that you have seen a problem, you have seen a pain somewhere that drove you to start Orbify. What was that, as they say, the aha moment that, okay, I need to start something to solve this problem, and you did it with Orbify?
Yeah, well, I think it's like with all great business idea that they are started with two or more people confronting each others and presenting totally different ways of looking at the world, right? Like the entire travel tech business, it started from one American Airlines executive and one IBM executive on the same flight, talking to each other how painful it is to book seat on a flight, and that this whole system of booking flight seats with boxes representing planes, and then spots in the boxes.
Yeah.
You put cards in the boxes, and when the box is full, then it means you sold out all the seats on the plane. It was somewhere in the 60s when they had this conversation. This is how this whole computer reservation system got started. For me, well, it wasn't a flight. Actually, it was a phone call I received from a colleague back from my university days, a guy I met 20 years ago, and he was telling me how frustrating it is for him and his wife, with whom they started an Earth observation consultancy, to deal with all this manual processing. Like when the customer comes to their company, they need to contact their providers first, and then they will call satellite constellation and tell, okay, maybe we need this pictures over this area. Then they will wait for pictures to arrive. Then they will download it from FTP, this archaic protocol, to their computers. Then on their computers, not in the cloud, but on their computers, they will process the imagery to get to some results. And since we are talking about gigabytes of data, well, it's processing may take time overnight. Luckily, download is not a problem, right? Because with fiber, it's just a couple of hours. But with when you are trying to process, when you are trying to do some advanced stuff on your laptop, it's you leave it overnight. Then you come the next day and you are uploading a bunch of images to another piece of software. You are doing some analysis. You are taking a screenshot. You are pasting this screenshot into a PDF. You are attaching this PDF to an email, and you are attaching an invoice to the email. You send it to your customer, and then when the customer goes back and says, "Oh yes, this is great, but what about this area back to the north?" You're starting the whole process again. So this is manual. You need to wait a lot, and this is what makes my colleague, a very smart guy, frustrated, seeing the amount of repetitive work that is being done by his team. And he was telling me, "Oh, Jakub, you are the CTO, CPO for this travel tech Y Combinator-backed startup. Tell me, how can I build this Google Maps-like interface where my users just open a web page, they select an area of interest, and within minutes, because we're using cloud, this is 21st century, so everything can be done within minutes. We are presenting them some results, explaining these are the vessels that were discovered over this area. This is the class of the vessel. This is the type of the vessel. This is maybe even their affiliation registration, right? How can we build it?" And I was a bit naive at that point in my life. I was thinking that, well, it's like with the rest of the tech industry, right? So if you want to deploy your prototype, you will not have to harness AWS on your own. If for a prototype, Heroku or other services of the type are totally sufficient, or maybe you will just use AWS Lambda, right, to run small pieces of code serverless, not really caring about Kubernetes, EKS, ECS, scaling up and down, Fargate, etc. If you want to send an email, you will not build your SMTP server yourself. You will use SendGrid or Twilio. And actually, Twilio, well, it's useful also when you send SMSs, etc., right? You and your listeners know that there is plenty of tools when we are talking about typical tech use cases. But when you are analyzing satellite imagery, when you are analyzing images that have a couple of gigabytes, then AWS Lambda is not enough for you, because the processing may take more than 15 minutes sometimes. You may need more than the available amount of RAM memory that is on Lambda. So you need actually to harness this Kubernetes EKS Fargate mechanism. Then when we are talking about presenting data, also there is not that many tools. Well, React, yes, React is a foundation, but then you need to code a lot in React to make beautiful, compelling analysis ready for executives who are no experts in geophysics or that type of thing. Right? So by digging into this, I realized, okay, there is huge difference between this beautiful, shiny industry of technology that is for general use and the technology that is being used in Earth observation industry. And we decided to fill out this space.
Okay, I like the story because you sorted not one problem, you solved the many problems at the same time. So you solved the problem of things being slow, you solved the problem of communication as well. And, you know, as you said, like you needed to rely on multiple technologies to build the, you know, I mean, before what you came up with. So they needed multiple components or multiple, let's say, point solution to solve their problem, and you brought everything there. Although, like Jakub, you are today the CEO, but I know that you were a CTO as well for quite some time. And do you still do the technical part now, or is it like partially you do it?
Well, very little, because I'm happy to work with a fantastic team, also fantastic technical team. So they are far smarter than me when it comes to programming, when it comes to technology. Sometimes I touch certain parts of the system when it's like about building something for one of our users. When I need to make a demo, then this is the type of technology I'm touching. But I don't have to go deeply into the system, and luckily we have much smarter people on board.
That's impressive to hear that from you. I've seen you have like long history in tech, I would say. Like how was the experience like? I mean, how you can maybe enlighten other people who want someday to become a CTO, and maybe they want to become either a co-founder as a CTO or maybe a CEO of their own companies. Because I've seen that you've gained some experience with some big names in the market, and then you became CTO yourself for quite some time, and then you went there. So if you can just I mean, like give some advice to fellow people who are just starting maybe now, or maybe if someone already they are in the tech industry and they want to you know, go up to the ladder, or maybe they want to be inspired to become to have their own company.
Well, I think that what is important if you want to grow as a leader is that you take care of the team, right? And that was always important for me to be able to work with great people. And in order to be able to work with those people, I knew that I need to take the best care I can of the team. Not that I always succeeded, but at least I was trying hard to take care of them. And I think that this is one of the things that helped me to grow. That I was well able to keep good people around me, and having a good team, you can achieve great results. And then the other thing that is important, in my opinion, is to always think about product and business. Sometimes we technical people are lured by technology on its own, right? Oh, this is so amazing, this new framework. I will do some refactoring and my code will look even better. And for me, for multiple years, right? Because I started programming when I was 13. It was in 1995, around that period of time, so previous millennium. And I spent a lot of time doing refactoring and enjoying, oh, wow, this design is so beautiful. We've got classes, we've got abstraction layers, prototypes, interfaces, and inheritance between this and that. So great. But then what?
Exactly.
Who cares? What impact it has on the product, and what impact our product has on the lives of other people. So the people that I work with for, well, like my technical co-founder Michał, we are working together since 2009, 2010 together, and this is also an amazing thing about him, that he's a great technologist, great hacker, great programmer, great product guy. But he's always thinking about how this will impact the end user. Will this make their lives better? If our refactoring eventually will make their lives better, if you can clearly say yes, then it's worth doing it now. But if it's not something that will, I don't know, with refactoring we'll be able to deliver much faster. If it's like, oh, a little bit faster, if we can delay the refactoring because it's not slowing us down that much, maybe we can postpone it, and maybe we can focus on delivering the real value. And this is what I respect, what I value in the technical people, that they can, like, okay, technology is my precious thing, but I can look beyond it. I will seek for the impact for the end users.
Wonderful. I also believe of course, I'm a technical guy as well. But the main reason I came up with the idea of this podcast actually is, how we can do the bridging between technology in general and businesses, and technical people to let them think about business, right? Now, final thing I want to ask you, because you mentioned about, the past and the way you build now the current startup you are having. Have you used, the same concept of building, maybe because you wanted to see how the business will like it or not, or the users? Did you use the concept of having a MVP, like minimal viable product at the beginning, and then, like based on the feedback you iterated? Is this what you used in this startup and the ones before?
This is exactly what we use. Sometimes you are unable to MVP something because there is this theory of Peter Thiel, right? 0 to 1. I'm not sure if you read the book. That you cannot MVP everything, and lean startup is not an answer to everything. And of course, but then majority of things can be MVP to certain extent. You can measure if people are interested in this or that. In my previous company, when we were deciding whether we want to build a subscription-based product for air travelers. This is tricky, right? Because as an air traveler, you rarely have loyalty towards particular airline, towards particular travel agency, towards particular vendor at all. Because usually what you do is you go to Skyscanner, Kayak, and you just select the cheapest price, right?
Exactly.
So when we were thinking, okay, can we at my previous company, can we provide a subscription-based products for travelers? What we did at first is that we had like, hey, we've got this product, click here to subscribe. And actually, when you subscribe, we're telling you, thank you for your interest, leave your email with us, and we will be launching soon. Only once we gathered the proper number of people that are interested in this product, we launched something. We invested a bigger amount of time into coding something.
Okay, that's a good conversation, I would say, and I believe we need to make maybe a full episode about the two schools, I would say, Peter Thiel school 0 to 1, and the lean startups school, because I agree with you. Like, it depends on the concept you are trying to do, because 0 to 1 is more. Really, your product is very, very innovative. You have a huge edge. Like, people to copy your product, they need maybe 5 years until they can copy you. So this is where you will be in the one later, right? While in the lean, that you have some competition, and then but you keep iterating also the idea. Maybe you would be also pivoting the whole idea just to see how this will work on.
If I may have one comment here,
yes,
because we may think that, great innovators like Steve Jobs, right? They are the 0 to 1 people. I'm not sure if this is really the case. I think that Steve Jobs had this intuition that allowed him to take a lot of the input that others will need to have surveys, will need to have a lot of inputs, right? He had this intuition, had this good eye and ear for what the customers need, and this is what enabled him to build something innovative, something that people want. And if you are building it in total isolation, right? If you are, I don't need to listen to anyone, I just know, I don't think one can succeed in this setup.
Yeah, I believe he's not in the 0 to 1. I believe maybe, of course, from the outside, it looks like Steve Jobs, maybe he's a 0 to 1 guy, but I think he was iterating all the times. He was listening. Yeah, maybe not in the best friendly way that he because of his nature. But yeah, I believe he was listening to the customers and he was always shifting the business the way it needs to go. Yeah. Jakub, I really enjoyed this conversation today. I hope whether you are listening to this podcast or you are watching it on Spotify or YouTube, you enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mehmet. It was great to talk to you.